Okay, so I and freed up space and switched on the light. But essentially, to like sort of extend my argument, it's like metaphysical claims are almost always just based off of guesses, and the guess is predicated upon like this idea that like my prophet was so perfect, so he'll never be wrong about anything. Now, thing is, the argument of like I was right about everything that happens in the physical realm, so I must be right about everything that would happen on the spiritual realm. What is a spiritual realm? I don't know. A realm higher than this, maybe another dimension. So I must be right about these things that I cannot verify. Um, it sounds kind of stupid to me because of the problem of being right about a lot of things on the physical realm is that these things don't take geniuses to like figure out, and a lot of the times these things were already premeditated on. So it doesn't sound that shocking to be right about almost everything. A good example I can give you is most conspiracy theorists. Okay, no, that's a bad example to use because then they'll be like, haha, this guy believes most conspiracy, and I don't really want to get caught up in that argument. There are some conspiracy theorists who are right about almost everything. Do we just believe everything they say after that? That's my question. Now, the thing is, Jesus in particular is a good example because if you put aside the Gospels or put aside the Gospel of Timothy, um, then he's almost perfect, except for that one thing he got wrong, which is the end of the world. He was like, all this will surely, this generation will surely not pass until all this happens. I'm not going to talk about whether it's manipulated. I'll just talk about it as it is, as it stands. Like whether the scriptures are manipulated, I'll talk about it as it stands. And as it stands, Jesus was right about almost everything. But then my argument is that, well, sure, but all that proves that he's a genius. It doesn't prove that he knows what happens after all of this. And then you could make the argument that, well, he was resurrected, so that, but his resurrection, man. Okay, let's talk about it as it stands. So the tomb was found empty. Did we consider the fact that the body could have been stolen? Well, sure, but then he appeared to 500 people. And then we have to ask, okay, are mass hallucinations from 500 people common? And then we have to understand that it's not common, but then again, hallucinations in and of themselves are like not that common, at least, yeah, not on that level. So the problem with that is this: the whole Jesus argument, or the strongest argument there is for like Jesus' resurrection is resurrection is the fact that 500 people saw him. How many? Thing is, because of when I was reading the Bible, it said that then Jesus appeared to 500 people. It never actually mentioned those 500 people's accounts of seeing Jesus. Now maybe on record there are 500 accounts. I'm not sure. I have to look that up. But then I'm just trying to find a problem with that argument because I want to find a problem with that argument because it doesn't make sense to me. Mostly because of metaphysical claims are almost always wrong. So what makes this particular one special? Thing is, my argument could be that sure he was resurrected, maybe, but does that mean he's right? Like, does that mean that everyone who was ever resurrected was right about everything? Because if I'm not mistaken, Jesus performed necromancy on this other guy, or some lady, or someone's daughter, or something like that, and then she came to life. Does that mean she's right about almost everything? Now the whole idea is that Jesus did it himself, which we do not know. So he must be the chosen one. But it becomes a problem because wouldn't that be Jesus' second coming? And then it's like, okay, so I'm trying to think, what point am I trying to make here? The argument I'm trying to make is that the whole idea of Jesus making metaphysical claims being true could be true because of all these stuff that he did. But then even the resurrection is done on the physical plane. Because even if you do assume he was resurrected, that doesn't prove that there is a heaven, because a heaven is out of this plane, right? That just proves that he was resurrected. Now, I don't actually believe that he was resurrected. I'd have to see those 500 accounts. I said I'll take it as it is, but yeah, as it is, it seems like the perfect story. I can't really find any plot holes. Not perfect story, like as a whole, but then that specific thing, it's hard to say, okay, it's false, because it's hard to say that, it's hard to say that if 500 people saw something, it's not true. You get what I'm saying? Like, if 500 people really believe in something, okay, but that's the thing. What if those people are just devoted believers and they believe that they saw it, or what if it was coordinated? Well, it says Jesus was resurrected, and not that he resurrected himself. But I'm not going to get too caught up in that. Basically, metaphysical claims cannot be verified. Like, it's impossible. You can try to verify anything in the Bible, but then when it comes to metaphysical claims, those cannot be verified. It's like out of like what we can experience. And that's what I don't agree with when it comes to all these religions. And what I also don't agree with certain teachings that they may have, but like I said, if you kind of look at it on a much broader level, you start to realize the teachings really ain't that bad, and they can be contextualized, etc., etc. It's just, and you also have to put it into historical context. But then you also have to understand that these books, the teachings, not all the teachings are meant to be like true perpetually, and if they are, then that means that these books don't make sense, because certain things just wouldn't fly today. But that's my argument. It's a bit difficult to make it, but yeah, I just don't believe in the metaphysical claims because they cannot be verified. Like, we could talk about faith. So I don't believe in the metaphysical claims, and then I do sort of believe in the teachings, but the teachings are so broad and they almost come across as intuitive, and these books do get some things wrong, and there are some inconsistencies. But the metaphysical claims are the ones that just really cannot be verified, because you could make an argument for why God does this, but you can't really make an argument for why heaven would be real, other than, well, because Jesus said so. And that doesn't make sense, because Jesus was right about things that you could easily observe. And yeah, even you could say that, oh, he performed miracles, so that showed that he was tied to divine. Does that mean that if someone performs miracles, they're tied to something divine? Well, Satan would be tied to that divine, wouldn't he? But yeah, I don't know. Faith is a bit stupid because of it's kind of like a guess.